So good news for Celtics fans. Danny Ainge told the network yesterday that both Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward are at full speed, and they should be ready to go next week when they begin informal workouts. Of course, they missed last season, most of, if not all, due to injuries. And we were robbed of a chance to see the potential. But now, LeBron James is out of the Eastern Conference, and the expectations could not be higher for this Boston team. So what are they in for?
The Celtics are clearly the best team in the Eastern Conference. I know you don't like to hear that.
I didn't like the clearly part.
But you accept it.
Well, arguably.
But the reason why we still have to see a healthy Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And we also have to see the Toronto Raptors roster, which you mentioned is deep, adjust to their new head coach. That's going to be a change. But for a team that continues to have Danny Ainge fleece the rest of the league as it relates to making these deals happen, all of a sudden you get number 3 picks back-to-back in Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. Usually they have to be the face of the franchise. We never give Al Horford the credit he deserves as a modern big. And now you bring these two gentlemen back as their starting backcourt. Terry Rozier made a name for himself. Oh, and they re-signed Marcus Smart this offseason. So they're loaded. And I anticipate they're going to be in the NBA Finals.
I mentioned this earlier. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I think there's this laziness and convenience. People talk to Celtics. They go, man, how good is Brad Stevens? Or how good is Danny Ainge? And it's not to take away from them, but I started to get resentful half of the year. I'm like, what about the players, Jalen? Like, I know those guys are great, but I think there's too much talk sometimes about Boston front office and not enough props given to the players.
Well, what happens is when you get a guy like Isaiah Thomas and you turn around a culture and all of a sudden he averages 29 points, is in the MVP conversation, and they're the number 1 seed in the East, and then you trade him, and all of a sudden you upgrade your roster, and you still have that level of success, and he's been on 3 or 4 teams since then, you're like, what's the common denominator? Oh, Brad rebuilt the roster of players that were not there, like Morris all of a sudden. Now you bring him in, and he's also a productive member of what they're doing.
Is it a length of tenure thing? Because when the same things are said about Pop, do you feel the same way?
That's the thing with Pop. I'm like, no, he's earned it. I think you're right, because of tenure and resume. I'm like, yeah, he's incredible and deserves all the accolades. With Stevens, I'm like, he's a good coach, but seriously, every time you get an NBA countdown show, you're like, man, how about Brad Stevens? You're like, well, there's some other players too.
Right, so Adnan doesn't like Brad Stevens.
So you were
some haterade on Brad Stevens.
So you appreciated my commentary because I never mentioned his name.
Right? I think it gets lazy. People just go, yeah, Brad Stevens is unbelievable. What about the guy's playing? Like, I got it. Yeah, Kyrie was out.
Imagine if you're the players.
Right.
That's probably a little resentful there.
Yeah.
I buy that.
Yeah. And it's not his fault. He'd be the first to be like,
of course not. No, he is the first.
Like, don't give me coach of the year. Like, what are we doing? We got other guys out there.
How about this? The Boston. I think we forgot how good Kyrie Irving is.
Right.
He's going to be in the MVP conversation, and they made the conference finals without him. Just his return to the team alone, and having Gordon Hayward, who played for Brad in college, that level of familiarity and trust that they're going to have with one another. Morris, another year in the system. I mentioned Al Horford. So the Boston Celtics, top to bottom, have the best roster in the game.
And I think there's an excitement as we go into this next season, because no longer are we guaranteed Cleveland Cavaliers are in the finals. Legitimately, the Eastern Conference will be different this year. And, you know, a little bit of element of surprise is necessary to keep the drama up. So I'm excited about that.
We know the top 3, or at least we think we do: Toronto, Philly, Boston. Who's 4? Is there any like? Can you go Wizards? Can I convince you the Wizards?
We always go Wizards, and then something happens, or they disappoint, or they don't live up to expectations. I mean, you can throw them in there at 4, but what does that really mean at 4?
You still don't feel like they're going to beat those top 3?
The Wizards are going to be better than people realize. And there have been times where John Wall and Dwight Howard have been considered the most athletic players in the conversation at their positions. They're going to be on the same team at the same time. That's going to be a lot of fast break layups and dunks. Dwight Howard playing in the Eastern Conference. He had an actually underrated season last year. Bradley Beal became an all-star. Otto Porter continued to improve. Kelly Oubre plays quality minutes. I think for the Washington Wizards, when the expectations are low, they were an 8th seed last year. They were a disappointment. Now, having the expectations not be as high, you guys just mentioned 3 teams, and saying, who's 4th? Should Washington be in that conversation? Right. They're one of only a few teams that had 2 All-Stars last year. So they will be in that conversation, in my opinion.
Want to do football?
Yeah, you want me to do it? You want to do it?
Yeah, you know what? You do it.
I'll take this one. You're right.